Title battle protagonists, and now we get to the stage where the playoffs are just around the corner. This is the second half of the NASCAR Euro Series season of 2025. This is qualifying at Autodrom Most. Historically, a very dramatic circuit, and you're going to want to be at the front of the grid here. This is going to be a very compelling qualifying session. So then we are in the Czech Republic for this very special event on the Euro NASCAR calendar. We have seen some incredible fighting here in previous years in the NASCAR Euro Series since this venue joined the calendar. The Autodrom Most circuit in many ways ideally suited to the style of racing we have here in Euro NASCAR, but it does present challenges, especially in race conditions. On the run to that first corner, it can get a little bit hairy. We've seen that on several occasions since we came here for the first time all the way back in 2019. As you can see, already droves of fans on the spectator banks here at Most. This, of course, a combined event, the NASCAR GP Czech Republic sharing the stage with the European Truck Racing Championship. So it is a really deluxe weekend, a great ticket to get a hold of for the local motorsport fans. And there you can see some of the sights around this facility. It's a wonderful part of the country that we get to visit here at Autodrom Most, but there's not much time for sightseeing for our title protagonist this weekend. Andre Viegold is with me in the commentary box, and Andre, I mean, yesterday, of course, was free practice day. Everyone's getting their eye in after an extended summer break. How are you feeling down there? How is everyone feeling down there? What's the temperature of the room as we get ready for qualifying?
Yeah, thank you so much, Adam, and welcome, race fans. The summer break is now over, and the good thing is everybody just wants to go racing. I went through the paddock, talked to the drivers and team bosses, and everybody said the summer break is finally over. We are ready to go racing, and of course, we're in the crucial part of the racing season. We are the regular season final now here at Autodrom Most. After this event, every driver will drop the worst result of the regular season, and then we go into the double point playoffs, and we have just 3 weeks between all the events of this season now. So it's going to be a really shotgun run to the title right now, and you cannot afford any mistakes. So we saw a lot of drivers and team owners really preparing for the second half of the season. For example, just take a look at Jack Davidson. We post something there on the EuroNASCAR social media channels. He is really in shape right now. He lost 30 kilograms over the summer break, preparing himself physically to be ready for the second half of the season with Lux Motorsport. There's a lot of things going on, and the interesting part, Adam, yesterday it was rainy. Today the sun is shining, and I tell you, in the media center, it's already getting a little bit like a sauna. So the conditions are completely different compared to yesterday.
Yeah, no, I saw some clips of the Rookie Challenge session yesterday, and the rainfall that we had during that was pretty spectacular, and that did carry on into the practices as well. There you see Anthony Kumpen in conversation with one of the stories of the season, that being Thomas Chrysonis. He currently sits tied for third in the Pro Championship. It will be the Pro Class qualifying session which makes its way onto the circuit first. He is, of course, in both championships. He's in the Open and the Pro Division. He's only 16 off the top as well in EuroNASCAR Open. So both championships, Thomas Chrysonis is sniffing around to try and become a dual champion, which would be unprecedented in EuroNASCAR. He and PK Carsport, to your point about preparing over the summer break, we saw them doing some testing at Zolder. A lot of these teams have got some mileage under their belts in the weeks prior to the road trip to Autodrom Most. We will be having a qualifying format here this weekend that for long-time viewers is familiar to you if you've watched a qualifying session at Brands Hatch. We will be putting these cars into two groups of 11 cars. Then we'll be whittling it down to the top 10 for a Super Pole session here in the Pro Division. Of course, it's just a straight-up pair of 10-minute group sessions for the EuroNASCAR Open, which will follow these pro drivers. But always an interesting situation, of course. You don't want to waste too much tyre in your group session, but you also want to make very, very certain that you make it into that Super Bowl.
Yeah, definitely. With the tire rules here, we have one set of brand new Hoosier slicks for every driver. You have to drive the qualifying and 2 races with them. And also, of course, with the races split to Saturday and Sunday, that means there are a lot of heat cycles in those tires. So tire management is one of the keys to success in the NASCAR Euro Series. Here we have Vittorio Ghirelli, the reigning champion, fresh from a guest start in the NASCAR Canada Series at Trois-Rivières. He did the GP3R, the street course race, because he was leading the championship before the summer break. That was one of the prizes he already won. And of course, Adam, Vittorio Ghirelli wants to defend his title with PK Carsport.
Yeah, absolutely. His focus firmly on winning yet another championship. That combination of Ghirelli and PK has proven to be so formidable since he joined the team at the start of 2024. I mean, if you look at as we approach qualifying here with a minute until the green flag waves, courtesy of the Strom Watches countdown to green, he's already third all-time in terms of pole positions, behind only Ander Villarino and Alan Day. And a majority, over half of those pole positions, I believe, have come since the start of 2024. Vittorio Ghirelli's form with PK's Carsport has been so formidable, and I think it's a testament to the form and the preparation of the other teams that we are talking about a championship battle that could still go so many ways. Yes, of course, when we get to the playoffs next time out at Oschersleben, we have double points. But with the form we saw last year from Ghirelli, in some ways I'm actually a little bit surprised that it's still so close as we approach Most.
First of all, I need to really say something to you. As a German, how you pronounce Oschersleben was really good. Really good, Adam. Props there because it's a really hard word in German, but it was really good. Definitely. And, Vittorio Girelli, one of the drivers, not, going unprepared in any race. By the way, there's a video coming up yesterday. I did the fitness routine of Vittorio Girelli together with the champion. He showed me what he does to get into the tunnel and also in a physical shape to get the heart rate up to be ready to tackle qualifying or races. This is going to be a very funny video on the NASCAR Euro Series YouTube channel because I had a heart rate of 170, my smartwatch told me, after this training with Vittorio Girelli, who is in perfect shape, of course.
Yes, I can only imagine, and I will never volunteer to do anything similar to that, just for many reasons, up to and including health insurance. So then, we are running on this first session, 10 minutes of running here for everybody, so not many laps around here. An ideal lap time here would be in the 1:39s. I expect that at least in this Super Bowl session we might see 1 minute 40s. The qualifying records around this circuit have gotten into the 1:39s in the Pro Division. That was last year. That was Vittorio Girelli with a 1:39.774. And of course this year, with the changes to the car, with the introduction of the sequential gearbox, we can maybe expect some of these lap times to gradually drop down. But Girelli's benchmark then for himself, certainly going into this qualifying and the Super Bowl thereafter, is going to be a 1:39. I think he'll need a 39 if he wants pole position today. So then the cars will soon be rolling here onto a fast lap. They're just getting to the conclusion of their outlap onto the circuit. There is the number 9 car. Good to see this machine again after our mid-season break. The duo of Sandro Tavatkalatsa in the Open Division, and this man, David Kajaya, in the Pro Division in the Challenger subclass. Of course, these days these guys supported by RDV Competition. They are, of course, the team that also run Paul Dufro here in the Pro Division, so they've definitely got the support behind them. Both drivers have a good amount of experience, and in both cases have some championship hardware on their shelving at home as well, so we can expect them to get better and better as we get used to the Euro NASCAR machine, which of course is quite a unique proposition, particularly in modern day motorsport. It's maybe a little bit more roly-poly than your typical GT car. It's also remarkably well blocked by a Scania truck, but moreover 400 horsepower, pure V8, not much in the way of assistance or padding for the driver. It's a raucous and raw machine, and that number 9 car, I think those two drivers, as they get used to it, they'll get better and better. And I must say, Thomas Toffel, new coat of paint on that number 34 car, which is now the THT by Race Art Technology machine. So a bit of a reunion there between Race Art and the number 34 driver. And that is a very nice new coat of paint on that car.
Yeah, definitely. The really beautiful looking car for Thomas Toffel. I bet this is going to be one of the favorites of my little daughter at home. She loves the Davidson car, but I think with this paint scheme, Toffel may be the second favorite one with those purple highlights on the car. He blew an engine yesterday in free practice. I saw it when he went on the back straight. There was a very strange noise, and then we had a lot of smoke. So the team had to change the engine. I talked to Thomas Toffel this morning. He said, the car is ready, the team is ready, hopefully the driver is ready as well. So Thomas Toffel with a brand new engine in the 34 car after technical problems in a free practice. And he's really fast at the moment when I look at the sector time. So good lap for Thomas Toffel. But we need to check, Adam, where the benchmark is going to be to go into Super Bowl, into the top 10 shootout.
Yeah, we'll work that out in the next few moments. Just to quickly say, within the Open Division, which is where you'd expect Thomas Toffel to really shine, he's only 15th in the standings, 66 back. But the beauty of the playoffs format we have here in the NASCAR Euro Series, As of this moment, there are 400 points left to score, so if he can land on his feet from here on out, you may well see him move up the charts. He's currently at the top of the charts. He's set the early benchmark, a 1 minute 44.620. I think you're going to need about 4 seconds faster than that, to be honest, in order to make the top 10 Super Bowl. I'd suggest somewhere around a mid 1 minute 40 is going to be the safe zone, maybe a 41 if there's not that much pace in the circuit this morning. But one thing I am expecting, Andre, is potentially some faster times than we've seen before out of Most, because Most traditionally seems to be one of our warmer circuits of the season. It always seems to be baking hot temperatures at Most, but looking at the forecast, it doesn't seem like we have that problem this time around. It's a little bit cooler, the temperature gauges are reading a little bit lower, and paired with good weather, that could mean we have new pace benchmarks by the end of qualifying today.
Yeah, definitely. The track conditions should be perfect with a mild, warm day, but it's not really hot outside. So the track should be in a perfect condition. By the way, Giorgio Maggi is now on top of the standings with a 142.773, and Bruno Mülders in the 72 Bleekemolen car in second, ahead of Thomas Toffel, while we see Sebastian Bleekemolen here getting another lap in. He needs to improve to be around this bubble to get into the Super Pole, and he is now on top of the standings. 142.358 for Sebastian Bleekemolen. Don't look at the tower on the left side, we need to update that. So Sebastian Bleekemolen right now in first place in this group, and we have just 3 minutes to go, Adam. So now it's the time to make your perfect lap.
Yeah, that's really flown by, actually, I must say. Of course, this first batch are kind of it's the second half of the points standings, isn't it, if I remember correctly? So we're going to have the big guns, the likes of Garelli, the likes of Giuffreau, out there a little bit later. And for someone like Sebastian Bleekemolen, who of course we've seen start from the front row here before, we've seen battle for victories here before, he's going to be very, very keen on getting into that top 10 Super Pole. But it's very difficult to know whether you've done enough when you don't know what your target lap time is going to be. All of these drivers in the first session, they are kind of flying blind, aren't they? They're going off the radar alone. They're looking at past qualifying sessions, thinking, okay, I think this is about what I need, but they're not going to know whether it's enough or not until, well, the end of the second session. Meanwhile, Marquez in the number 76 car has gone top. That's very interesting, of course. That's the number 76 car, and another Czech driver joining the NASCAR Euro Series. That is Michael Marquez, the Czech racer. Goes top then, making it for now a 1-2-3, isn't it, for Team Bleekemolen, as Seb goes top again. Sebastian Bleekemolen with a 42.0, but Marquez and Mülders behind their team boss as well. It looks like the Team Bleekemolen cars are fairly well sorted. They'll be hoping, of course, that at least one of them gets into the top 10. They're, I think, going to need at the very least a low 141, to be perfectly honest, but we'll have to see whether they can achieve that in these dying moments of the session. The number 1 car, Federico Monti, coming across the line, a 47.1 is his current best. That was his last time across the line. But we're still yet to break the 142s here. We're into the final minute of qualifying at this juncture, and time is of the essence. Here are the Team Bleekemolen cars now, and they make their way through the final couple of corners. This is our new number 76 car with its distinctive pink. Andre, I can imagine your daughter maybe likes those pink accents on the livery as well, as she's a fan of Jack Davidson's car.
Yeah, and we see that also Giorgio Maggi is now joining the party, the Speedhouse driver in the 33. He put himself within the Team Bleekemolen drivers, now in front of Bruno Mülders, who is 4th at the moment. And we see that the top 6 are only separated by half a second. So we have Toffel and Sortis in 5th and 6th place at the moment. But I'm really, really impressed by Michael Marquez It's the first time that he's driving those cars. He's coming from GT and touring car racing, so he knows what he's doing. But adapting to a Euro NASCAR machine that fast without any electronic aids, different to GT racing, with a V8 powered engine with 5.7 liters and 400 brake horsepower, it's an amazing that he's capable of being there up in front of the first group. I mean, he's in front of Giorgio Maggi, Bruno Mülders, Thomas Toffel, Vladimir Tsotzis, all experienced drivers in the NASCAR Euro Series. So, Michael Marquez, I think we have to take a look at this local hero. And Adam, we know that Autodrom Most is completely new to him.
Yeah, no, it's very impressive that Marquez is doing quite so well, but the number 72 off the circuit looks like a tyre, or maybe the suspension has failed there on the number 72 of Bruno Mülders. That's the last thing he would have wanted, and that puts him certainly in jeopardy to make the top 10 Super Pole. I don't think he can do it on a 1:42.4. But that is a huge shame for Team Bleekemolen, whose cars look so strong. Sebastian Bleekemolen himself just set a 1:41.965, and Vladimir Tsotzis to a 1:42.085 in the Speedhouse Ford Mustang. That's a good little effort there from Vladimiros to try and make a bid to get into the top 10. Clock has hit 0 on the session. I think everybody has now registered their final lap. Michael Marquez on a 1:42.094, just a few hundredths behind this man Tsotzis. Then it's Giorgio Maggi, Bruno Mülders only 5th, and actually tied in terms of lap time with Thomas Toffel in 6th position, exactly to the 100th, to the 1000th even, a 1:42.434. Kajaya, Lanza, Del So and Monty, your full order in this session. Worth noting that Ulysse Del So was in pit lane for much of this session, unfortunately. But the cars will now head back in, and it's now going to be slightly uncomfortable viewing for the likes of Bleekemolen and Tsotzis. They hopefully feel confident that they've got the best out of their cars, but the question is now going to be, is it enough to challenge for a top 10 grid slot?
Yeah, I think 3 drivers maybe on the bubble: Bleekemolen, Tsotzis and Marquez, because they are very close together. Maggi, yeah, he misses 0.2 of a second, so I think there may be the line where we have to say it is not going to be good enough for Super Pole. But also in the second session for the second group, the track is going to be a little bit more rubbered in, but maybe it's getting a little bit hotter as well, because I feel it in the media center. It's getting hotter and hotter here at Autodrom Most. And we also now have a little bit of time to get the car out of the travel grab of Bruno Mülders. So the second group has to wait a little bit to go out on track, 10 minutes again. And then the combined top 10 will go into Super Pole. But as you said before, Adam, now we're going to have the big names like Vittorio Girelli, Gianmarco Ercoli, Paul Jouffreau, Liam Hazemans, and so on and so on. Thomas Crassonis, of course, who will be fighting for spots in the Super Pole. And you want to be in the first row, definitely heading into that turn 1 here at Autodrom Most for sure.
Absolutely right, and of course in this top 10 session we are going to get our first peek of the kind of established home star of Euro NASCAR for the Czech fans. That is Martin Dubek. He's had a fairly unique run into this event, hasn't he? He was dealing with VIPs and everything.
Yeah, a lot. He also had start with the sporting side. He had a tire failure in free practice, but then a really good pace. And I talked to him yesterday about what is the toughest moment for you at your home race. He said, visitors. What is the most enjoyable moment of your home race? Visitors. So he's in a lot of stress. And the good thing was on Thursday, this was amazing. The Czech president, Petr Pavel, was here, and he was driving taxi laps first with Martin Dubek, but then the president of the Czech Republic decided to take the wheel himself with Martin Dubek on the passenger seat. That was just incredible to see. So Martin Dubek, I think this is going to be a home race he will remember for the rest of his life. And what we've heard, the plan is that the Czech Republic president will also be the Grand Marshal for Sunday's race. So an incredible story, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, it's not every day that the president of an entire nation shows up to a racing event of any caliber. But incredible to have Peter Pavel with us for the NASCAR Euro Series Thursday, and indeed, hopefully, we look forward to welcoming him tomorrow. All things going to plan. Of course, this top 10 session will be intense. It will not define pole position, though. That will be the Super Pole that follows thereafter. There's the 72 car, unfortunately, on a crane. Now, Bruno Mulders, I think, has been one of the most compelling stories this year in Euro NASCAR, with just the very fact of his youth, his inexperience in cars prior to joining us for the season opener in Valencia. But I don't think his luck has quite matched his talent so far this year. This is just the latest of a few things that haven't quite gone his way. But Mulders still making a big impact in the Pro Division, and of course he's still in the championship hunt in Euro NASCAR Open as well, where he's 28 points off the championship lead, and it's going to be a big question for the team and indeed for himself whether that car can get ready to head out for the Open qualifying in a few moments time, or in about half an hour, 40 minutes time. That's going to be the best case scenario in terms of the amount of time they've got to get the car ready, and that is going to be a race against the clock.
Yeah, definitely. But we saw it already yesterday how fast the teams are. My information are that, for example, Race Art Technology changed the engine of Thomas Toffel within 2 hours. It depends, of course, on now what's broken there on the 72 car. But normally, if it's suspension or if it's just the tire, it's going to be a very fast repair session for Team Blakemon with a lot of experienced mechanics as well. You need a really good team in Euro NASCAR. But if you understand the car and how it works, it's really easy for a pro, of course, not for me, for example, but for a pro mechanic to fix it. And I think this is also one of the cool things in Euro NASCAR, that you get those cars rapidly ready for a session if it's damaged somehow. They are still recovering the car. Bruno Mulders, you said it before, Adam. He started really strong into the season, and then I think it was the tap when he got spun by Claudio Capelli in Vallelunga. From then on, he had a little bit of bad luck, but most of the time it wasn't in his hands. So he showed a lot of potential for his first auto racing season and his first Euro NASCAR season. So Bruno Mulders, definitely one of the most talented drivers we have here, and he's going to end the season in Open and Pro. That's at least what Sebastian Blakemon told me, to get more track time and more experience. So maybe the 2025 season is just the start. I think when he's going to be in the 26 season, with all the experience he has after the first season, and he knows the tracks, the cars, I think this is going to be one of the drivers we have to take a look in Open, if he's not already surprising us in 2025 in the Open division. What do you think about that?
Well, you know what? It's an interesting situation with Bruno in general, because I think it's a huge indicator of the impact on of the NASCAR Euro Series that someone like Bruno, who has bags and bags of talent, has decided to make his debut in cars in the NASCAR Euro Series. I wouldn't be surprised if there's ambitions being harboured in that young man's mind of perhaps a move over to the United States to follow in the footsteps of the likes of Alan Day, who was again racing in ARCA overnight for us here in Europe. Over at, it was Portland, wasn't it? And he has been very successful. We've had countless drivers make that move over and try and make an impact in the American NASCAR divisions. Of course, even in the top NASCAR Cup Series, we've seen some of our great Euro NASCAR talents on display, be that our former driver and indeed F1 World Champion Jacques Villeneuve, be that Loris Hazemans. We've had quite a bit of representation at the very highest levels in the American NASCAR divisions, but I think we're seeing more and more of that. We're seeing more European drivers growing up watching Euro NASCAR and thinking, I really like that, I really like the American product as well, and there's a ladder there. But we're also seeing it, of course, in the opposite direction. We're seeing Americans come over. We had Ryan Vargas just for the full season last year. This time around, Jordan O'Brien, of course, who debuted and made a big impact at Brands Hatch, managed to get himself a pole position. And in fact, even in the Rookie Challenge, that number 22 car from Club Competition was driven by Brenna Schubert, who is kind of an esports and karting hybrid. She's had great success in both, and then in real world competition at the start of the year in Radicals as well. And it's just really interesting to see this kind of flow of American talent coming in and young European talent deciding to shun the more traditional routes of touring car racing or single-seaters or GT4s and instead elect to come and race in Euro NASCAR. I also promised Brenna that I'd say this. She managed to beat Jordan O'Brien at the local kart track in the preparation to the event. They were trying to organise a driver swap there. We'll have to make do with the headline "Brenna flying usurps O'Brien" for now, and we'll see whether she gets a go in a race before the end of the season.
I got some information. One of our photographers was there with Bruno Mulders, and he confirmed that there was something wrong with the suspension. And we also have an information from my German colleague Pete Fink. I'm commentating the NASCAR Cup Series on German TV with him, and he's also here at the track. And he told me that the 77 car of Happy Nessa didn't turn on, so they couldn't fire the engine that way around, and therefore we didn't have the 77 Bremotion car in the first group of the of course, the 77 of Rehberg and Happy Nessa. We haven't had the 77 car there, so they are checking if they can make it happen with the 77 car to fire it.
Okay, well,
sorry for the misunderstanding with the Pro and Open.
Yeah, fingers crossed then for Happy Nessa. Unfortunately, with that, Julian Rehberg
and
won't get a chance, of course, to try and compete in Superpole in the Pro division. But let's see if they can get the car out for Happy Nessa in Open. Disappointing start, though, for Julian Rehberg, although I suppose there's a small silver lining to be had in that his tyres will be totally fresh heading into the race later on today. Cars are released, we're on to the circuit, and there is the man that will be getting the most cheers, I suspect, of anybody trackside. Martin Dubeck leads them out for this qualifying session. Lots of pressure on his shoulders, of course, this weekend, but he is a multi-time champion, and you don't get to become a multi-time champion in the Euro NASCAR Open Division or in the Pro Division. But you don't get to become a champ if you can't handle pressure or indeed thrive under it. I'm expecting a good weekend here from Martin Dubeck.
He told me something about the racetrack. What is the most dangerous part? Turn 1. What is the best overtaking opportunity? Turn 1. So he expects a lot of movement, especially in the first corner, where you have to go to a very low gear, very big braking zone as well after the start-finish straight. So he's expecting a lot of things going on there. He's trying to warm up his tires of the 7 car of Hendricks Motorsport, the Dutch team, one of the powerhouses. Then we have his teammate, former teammate, now Rette Jones Racing, also serviced by Hendricks Motorsport. We have Liam Hazemans in the Rette Jones Racing Ford in the 30 car behind him. Then Paul Giuffreau, Thomas Crassonis, Jack Davidson in the pink machine, Fabrizio Ametta in the 55, Vittorio Ghirelli, Gianmarco Ercoli, and of course Garrett Lowe. And they have a story. Adam, he was testing at Oschersleben, but he went also to Autodrom Most. He knows the track from a few laps in a Skoda Octavia. Not a street version.
Okay, cool. Yeah, those Octavia Cup cars are actually deceptively fast. I've watched them before going up against some other stuff, so that's an interesting platform to learn. Of course, that's front-wheel drive, a much different proposition to what he has here with him now in the NASCAR Euro Series. And of course, Garrett Lowe, I would suspect better than anyone on the grid, can also take advantage of virtual learning on the sim, given his background, of course, with the BS Plus competition guys. Being such an ace in the sim world as well as the real world, I'm sure that particular learning tool is well utilised by Garrett Lowe. So then we are into this second phase of qualifying then. A 141.965 is the benchmark from Sebastian Bleekemolen. With all due respect to Sebastian, I don't expect that to stand as the quickest time. There's the question mark of whether it will be good enough for the top 10, but we've got so many heavy hitters now out on the track, including Martin Dubeck, including Liam Hasemans that we see there second in line. Paul Dufro, of course, Vittorio Garelli, the reigning champion, the championship leader. But here comes Martin Dubeck. He will be the first one to set the tone for the session. The first lap is very rarely the fastest, but let's take a look at the time. He goes all the way up to, where did he end up on the screen?
7th.
There, he disappeared from my screen. 7th, yes, there he is, 42.514. That's not too bad at all. That's the fastest of those that we've seen across the line so far from this half of the session, but that's only going to get quicker as time goes on.
Yeah, definitely. The first lap is not the benchmark lap. You have to get more heat into the tires and also into the brakes. Therefore, we can expect way quicker lap times from the second lap on. Let's take a look what they are going to do in the second lap. At the moment, the time of Sebastian Bleekemolen stands, but I don't think that it will last. So, we have Gianmarco Ercoli going into second place with a 142.019. So the Italian in the 11 Alumitech racing car did already a really good lap there.
Yeah, really impressive lap time then from Ercoli, just to set the tone, just to get started. And I imagine it's only going to get better from there. Already though, just 5 minutes of this session left to go. 10 minutes around this circuit. That's not a lot of time, is it? When we have 10 minutes at Brands Hatch, you can get 9 or 10 flying laps in. If you miss an apex 3 or 4 times during your session here at Most, that's your qualifying done.
Yeah, definitely. This is completely different. We have Martin Dubeck now in first place. And Hasemans even quicker, Geoffroy quicker. Now we have the times coming in. Geoffroy 141.401. Then Hasemans 141.810. And then we have Dubeck with a 141.887. So exactly what we expected, Adam, that now the lap times are getting faster and faster. Ercoli still in 5th, Razon is in 8th place, but I expected better times to come in. At the moment, Toffel not in the shootout, as well as Mulders now. Maggi is now in the hot seat in 10th place because Geoffroy in first place, 141.401. Davidson in second. So now we get the real lap times.
Yeah, exactly right. The time's getting quicker and quicker. 41.337 just registered by Gianmarco Ercoli. No surprises there. Gianmarco always very quick indeed. Vittorio Garelli's best time currently only 7th on the list. That is not where you'd expect to be, about 8th, sorry, since Gianmarco made that lap time. So we're already knocking on the door of 1 minute 40s. I think maybe, unless they're all keeping their powder and that drive the Super Bowl, I think 39s don't appear to be in the cards for today here at the Autodrom Most. I think they've very recently done some resurfacing when we were here 12 months ago. Here's Jack Davidson though, to your point, 141.798. Quite the headline grab there from Davidson. He's been busy, as you said, during the summer break, getting his fitness up. I think he's also been doing some running at his local circuit, Knock Hill, in this car. Dubeck at his local circuit, a 141.392. That's second fastest for the time being. Of course, this doesn't set the grid, but I feel like a mid 1 minute 41 or below right now appears to be what you need to get through. Jack Davidson pushes the envelope a bit too far, but Martin Dubeck has got himself very close to Gianmarco Ercoli. That is impressive.
At the moment, not in the Super Bowl, Michael Marquez, he's out of the business there. But Vladimir Stotzis is still on the hot seat. Ameta and Capelli could still kick him out of Super Pole right now. Hercule 141.016. So Hercule with a even faster lap time right now. After his double race win at Brands Hatch, I think Hercule gained a lot of confidence again. And Garrett Lowe in second place in the 99 Dream Motion car with a 141.359. Lowe with an excellent lap there in his rookie season in pro, ahead of Martin Dubeck and Paul Giuffreau. So he was really fast already yesterday in the rainy conditions. He was third there in free practice. So Garrett Lowe, a really pleasant surprise.
Vittorio Garelli is into the pit lane, we're being told, and he's 9th fastest. Garelli, I don't think would have peeled in this early if he was if he didn't have some sort of issue, because he's very close to the bubble, to be perfectly honest with you, there in 9th position, just ahead of Vladimir Osiortis. So hopefully he doesn't have an issue that's causing him problems out there. But to your point regarding Garrett Lowe, of course, he will be very keen to get a better qualifying out of today. I think Brands Hatch as a weekend was in some regards almost a write-off, just because he was so far down the grid. He couldn't really find ways through. Of course, Brands Hatch notoriously quite a difficult circuit to do your overtaking, so he's going to want a good qualifying session, a good starting position to fight for podiums, maybe even victories this weekend here at Autodrom Most. There's Thomas Chrysonis. He's currently 6th fastest. I suspect that's more than enough to get through into Superpole with 30 seconds left on the clock. A 1 minute 41.430 for him, just 200ths ahead of Liam Hazemans, and Paul Giuffreau ahead of them in 4th. Then it's Dubeck, Lowe and Hercule on the top with a 141.016. Is anyone going to pull a fast time out of the bag? We've had one improvement, haven't we? That was our Meta, I think, who's just gone quickly. A 141.849 puts him up to 8th place. That puts Garelli on the bubble. If anyone is going to make a late improvement here, looking at you, Claudio Remeggio Capelli, in 13th for the time being, that would be a huge headline if Garelli doesn't even make it to Superpole.
Yeah, and Capelli clocked his fastest lap, went to 13th place. He made a big jump there, and he's not that far away. 142.2, Garelli 142.0, so 0.2 of a second. If Capelli finds them now on the final lap, he could kick out Garelli out of Superpole, and that would be a huge surprise.
It would be massive. It'd be one of the surprises of the season. Can just see going underneath that red Orland bridge there, Claudio Remeggio Capelli. So he's now into the final sector, going through those S-bends, and we'll have to see whether the lap time is going to be good enough. Chrysonis is coming into the pits. Meanwhile, approaching the last 2 corners will be the danger man, Claudio Remeggio Capelli, in his number 5 car. Let's see what the timing screen has to say. We must see what Capelli can do. This would be a huge boon for the number 5 driver if he can eliminate Vittorio Garelli. I'm not sure it's going to happen. We're keeping an eye on the timing screen. I believe he's on a flyer, but no, 147.848. So that time nowhere near good enough, unfortunately, for Claudio Remeggio Capelli, but very fortunately for Vittorio Garelli. The next question is, why was he in the pits early, and why was his pace so distinctly un-Vittorio Garelli? Only 10th fastest. He's going to squeak it into Superpole by the narrowest of margins, just beating out Vladimir Osiortis. And we do have one driver who's made it from Group 1 into Superpole. That is Sebastian Blakemolen, who is 9th after both sessions are in the books.
And now I'm really curious what's going to happen in a Superpole with the top 10 advancing into the shootout. Remember, they will also have a little bit more stress on the tires for the races. They have to do more laps, but they fight for pole position. Everybody gets 2 flying laps in the Superpole, and then we're going to give away the Strom Watches a pole award once again for the pole sitter. And if you saw the news, there are going to be some unique watches for the pole award winners, for the champions, and also for the team boss with the best team at the end of the season, all made by Strom watches. And it's going to be a unique Euro NASCAR watch with the logo in it. So it's going to be an amazing gift also for the best qualifying drivers, for the champions, and also for the best team. And the team owner is going to receive the watch. I think it's a really cool thing that we added this year in the NASCAR Euro Series.
Certainly is, yeah. That's always a really exciting thing to see. This, it all adds a little bit of prestige to it, doesn't it? Of course, the Daytona 24 Hours, you get your watch if you do well there. And Strom Watch is a great partner for this year for the NASCAR Euro Series, joining the crew at the start of the season, and that's a level of enthusiasm that we're seeing from them as well by adding these accoutrements to the Euro NASCAR scene. So 4 minutes then until the Super Pole session. Minimal time for anyone to dial up the car, sort out any issues they may have. Minimal time to cool yourself down before you head back out there on the circuit. And of course the tyres will have just dropped out of a heat cycle when you head back out there onto the track. And in this Super Pole format, Andre, you need to get the heat back into those tyres. You need to get back onto your form very quickly indeed.
Yeah, definitely. And it's also another session, of course, where you can make a mistake. If you brake too late, you maybe lock the tires. That can also stress the tires. And I expect, Adam, that we're going to see the pole time in the second lap. Normally, I think Gianmarco Ercoli is one of those drivers. Somehow he manages to get the right heat. He gets into this working window already in the out lap, in the first lap, to heat up the car, the brakes, and the tires. Somehow Ercoli does it so good that he's fast in the first flyer. But all the others we saw in the past races, Vallelunga, Valencia, and Brands Hatch, that they were quick on the second lap. So Ercoli is my question mark here. If he's not even the fastest guy in the first lap and maybe make a difference there. I think also since Brands Hatch something changed again in the former champion. He became a father last year in Valencia when he was racing at Valencia. He had a really tough season 2024. He started not that good in 2025, but Brands Hatch, a turning point for Gianmarco Ercoli. Let's see what the 11 car is doing in this Super Bowl session. He was fastest in the qualifying in Q1. No Super Bowl matters. And Ercoli is definitely one of the guys capable of getting another pole award here.
Yeah, absolutely right. And if anywhere was going to kind of reignite the season for Ercoli, it was going to be Brands, wasn't it? He has such an affinity with the UK circuit, and of course we've had so much news in recent times regarding the calendar for next year, and one of the bits of confirmation has come in the form of American Speedfest returning on the 6th and 7th of June 2026. We're looking forward to heading back to the circuit for that one, and then of course Vallelunga is going to be back through 2026 and 2027. And next year, rather excitingly, it becomes the semi-finals host, the first stop of the playoffs. So we'll be going to Italy in a little over a year's time. So a bit of a longer wait for the Vallelunga fans, who are always there supporting the series very well. But when they do get Euro NASCAR back, it's going to be in very compelling circumstances with the championship battle in full gear. Most wins here at Most, by the way, does belong to Vittorio Garelli. Garelli with 3 victories, the most of anybody in the history of the NASCAR Euro Series since we started coming to Most in 2019. So we know he's quick round here. That qualifying performance certainly wasn't representative, and between the performance and the early visit to the pit lane, I just wonder if there's something going on there. we're going to have to see whether or not that number 24 car is in full song for Superpole. I can't help but notice as the countdown to green continues to tick down that he's actually still at his garage. I just wonder if things are really quite badly amiss with that PK Car Sport number 24.
Yeah, you saw the car standing in front of the pit box in the working lane, not in the fast lane. So we have to keep an eye on the 24 Chevy of PK Car Sport if there's something happening. Of course, we're trying to figure out what's going on there after this session. By the way, after Super Pole, I will head down and give away the pole award and also talk to our pole sitter in the pro division. Afterwards, we're going to have the open qualifying and also give away the pole award there and have an interview as well. And you already said with the Vallelunga announcement going into the playoffs, again, the format. This is the regular season final. After this race weekend, everybody is going to drop the worst result. One race. One race is going to be dropped, one result each driver. So the point standings will be shaken up a lot. For example, Vittorio Girelli just had one race not on a podium, but he was always in the top 5 or top 10. That means he's dropping a lot of points, while another driver, maybe having a bad race somewhere, can drop a lower score, and therefore after the race here at Autodrom Most, the whole championship picture could change drastically, while we now see the cars going onto the track. Therefore, we are ready for Super Pole. But to finish my thought, and then we go into 2 events, 4 races in each division, Oschersleben and Zolder. There we're going to have double points on the line. Exciting part of the season.
Yeah, massively exciting. Once we get into that double point situation, there are 320 points left to score, with of course bonus points on top of that as well for most overtakes and things of that nature. So it's actually more than that you can potentially score. I think it goes up to 360 with the bonus points thrown in there. There's a lot of ground potentially to make up, and of course it's unlike the NASCAR Cup Series or Xfinity or the American divisions in that we don't actually get rid of anybody. Anyone still within mathematical contention at the end of this weekend could still win the championship, even if it does require a little bit of misfortune for those ahead of you. It's going to be very interesting as we go into this second phase of the season, or indeed as we go into the playoffs, because everyone's been so close this year. Gianmarco Ercoli then leading them out there onto the circuit. He was the first and the fastest in the qualifying groups, therefore he is leading them around for the Super Pole session. To Andre's point there regarding the flying laps, it is typically the first flying lap that kind of gets disposed of by most, but Gianmarco Ercoli, one of those that always seems to hang it out. He was very quick there through those last few corners. I think this is going to be a flying lap of all flying laps from Gianmarco Ercoli. He's got 2 laps to try and secure himself pole position here. Now, has Vittorio Girelli even gone out onto the circuit is my big query, because we saw him parked up in front of his garage, but I don't know whether or not he's actually gone out onto the circuit. He has. He's got sector times coming up on screen, so that's good to see. That Vittorio Girelli is going to need to bounce back from being the 10th fastest going into this Super Pole session. Keep an eye on the likes of Garrett Lowe, the local hero Martin Dubeck, Paul Giffro and Liam Hasemans. Can never count them out of a qualifying session. And then, of course, there's the big move up the Euro NASCAR hierarchy this year for Thomas Chrysonis. Can he continue that with a strong pole position performance here today? That would be quite something. We follow the number 11, the Illumitech racing car of Gianmarco Ercoli, Andre, and I wait with bated breath for that final sector split to see what he's doing.
Yeah, definitely. And you see the different approach already on the lap time of the outlap. Ercoli 1:55. He was 6 seconds faster than Lowe. He was 8 seconds faster than Dubeck, and sometimes even more than half a second faster than other drivers on their road lap. So he has a completely different approach. Gianmarco Ercoli already trying to nail it in the first lap. Really aggressive going out of the pits and onto his first fly. He's now in the last turn, and we get the first benchmark of Gianmarco Ercoli. The Italian from Rome is getting his lap time in right now, and it's a 140.867. Strong.
Very, very strong indeed. Garrett Lowe comes across the line for a 41.9. Dubek a 41.8. Paul Giffreau only a 42.7. We'll definitely see better out of him. Thomas Cressones a 141.514 puts him second fastest. And Jack Davidson with a 41.6. He's up to an early third place. Seb Blakemolen with a 42.4. He goes eighth fastest. Gorelli, the only driver not to come across the line so far. He did a fairly slow outlap and he's eighth only, a 42.391. You can see there that Thomas Cressones has Liam Hasemans directly ahead of him. That might not be so helpful on this second flying lap. There's number 55 of Armetta, seventh on the grid right now. More giant killing from Armetta. We see it more and more often out of this man. But Gianmarco Ercoli will be approaching the final turns now with a very fast lap, I suspect. A 140.867 is the benchmark. Ercoli will be approaching the last couple of corners at this moment, and we need to see the 11 car. The 24 of Gorelli is slow, and that's horrible news for him and for PK Carsport. He's going to start down the order, but what about Gianmarco Ercoli? Ercoli is going to come across the line for the second and final flying lap any moment now. Here he comes out of the final corner, and the time will be a 1 minute 40.724. He further improves and sets the benchmark for everybody else. What can they do in response? Garrett Lowe with a 141.3. Dubek slightly slower than Garrett Lowe. Garrett Lowe has the second fastest time at the moment, but no one is able to get into those 1 minute 40s, and no one seems to be able to challenge Ercoli. Jack Davidson seemed to have a technical issue there at the end. The car slowing to a halt on the main straight. Hasemans has come across the line only eighth fastest for the second time. Everyone except Gorelli has now set their second flying lap, and Gianmarco Ercoli will be receiving the pole award from Andre.
Yeah, what a lap. He was almost 6/10 of a second slower than the second place guy, and that's Garrett Lowe in the 99 car that we are seeing here. The best qualifying performance for Garrett Lowe as well. Congratulations to Gianmarco Ercoli, also to Garrett Lowe, the local hero, Martin Dubek in third, ahead of Paul Giffreau, Thomas Cressones, Armetta, Davidson, Hasemans, Blakemolen, and Girelli only in 10th. This is going to be a very intense race for sure. I'm going to head down right now and welcome the pole award winner presented by Strom Watches.
There we go. Podium bound then is Andre. Also podium bound is Gianmarco Ercoli. What a great start. Proof that, yes, he has form at Brands Hatch. He's always quick at Brands Hatch, but he's translating that into the second half of the season. Garrett Lowe with a front row start for promotion in the 99. That's hugely impressive stuff from him. Dubek and Paul Giffreau on row 2, with the local hopes firmly on the shoulders of Martin Dubek. Thomas Cressones, 5th on the grid. He's alongside Fabrizio Armetta. Jack Davidson with a strong grid position, 7th alongside Hasemans. Then Blakemolen and Vittorio Gorelli. Gorelli, who will be immensely disappointed that car seemingly was faltering underneath him. We saw the car come into the pit lane during the initial qualifying groups, and we wondered whether he was just being very cautious and keeping his tyres clean, but no, it's pretty well confirmed now that that car is not happy in the slightest. He's just now limping it back to the pit lane, and Vittorio Gorelli and PK Carsport have some work to do. And frankly, in terms of a neutral perspective, if you want to see the most action possible, I think that Gorelli starting on row number 5 is going to make things very interesting going into our Pro Division race later on. Of course, we've still got the Open Division qualifying to come in just a few moments, and that will feature several of our drivers that we just saw out there on circuit. Martin Dubek, Thomas Cressones among those who double up, and we'll have to watch with interest there to see how they utilize that little bit of extra track time and experience in the session. Gianmarco Ercoli with another fast lap. He was quick in qualifying in the groups, he was quick in Superpole, and he is our pole sitter. So they will meet at the podium, Andre and Gianmarco Ercoli, and another pole award for the 2023 NASCAR Euro Series champion. Of course, our reigning champion is Vittorio Garelli. He's going to have some work to do. Of course, there is that spectre overhead of the fact that you do have a drop score, but Garelli's maybe going to be able to salvage this race. I'm not sure it's quite that dire just yet. Of course, thinking to the open division, let's hope that Thomas Dombrowski is able to continue without issue. There are the gathered fans on the gorgeous and luscious spectator areas that we have here. Not many actual grandstands, but some lovely viewing areas, some raised viewing banks to look down at this circuit at Most. I'm sure a lot of people have parked themselves firmly at the first corner and won't be moving again all day long, because that is the action zone on this track, as Martin Dubek told Andre, as Andre was telling us earlier on. Most difficult section of the circuit, most dangerous section of the circuit, but also the A1 overtaking zone. That's where you need to be to try and make a move into that first corner. Lots of importance behind getting a good run out of the final turn. So we watch with interest then to see what happens next in the Euro NASCAR Open qualifying session, where, if you missed it, it's a Legend Trophy driver on the top, but Gianmarco Ercoli on top in Pro.
Yeah, thank you so much, Adam. Gianmarco, another pole award, and you were already fast on the first flying lap. Everybody is backing down. You're really fast already going out on track in Superpole. What's your secret there?
I stay to the limit. The line is the life, and the dangerous damage of the car. So I stay too hard to the limit, to the track limit. I touch the curbs for all time on the track, and this is the difference. I take too much risk for do the difference, and the qualifying, when you close the timer, the difference is a big gap.
I think since Brands Hatch 2 wins there, you're back in title contention. It's all about the title right now, right?
Yeah, especially here, because all years when we arrive here, problems, crash, rain, like yesterday, and never we show the force of the team. This isn't our track, but with the last setup upgrade, we arrived to an incredible level.
All right, thank you so much. Congratulations, grazie mille. I will join you now back, Adam.
Thank you very much, and congratulations on the Strong Watches Pole Award there, Gianmarco Ercoli. Only 6 points back in the championship from Vittorio Garelli, second in the standings, and a good weekend here at the conclusion of regular season. Before we go into the double points playoffs, will serve him very well indeed. A second title would be just what the doctor ordered for Gianmarco Ercoli, but there's a long way to go before he can feel sure of that happening. Although, given his mentality, his approach, I'm sure he thinks he's the favourite for the championship. He's just that way inclined. There is the watch for Gianmarco Ercoli. And again, our thanks to Strong Watches for their support. So then, we know who's on pole in Pro. Gianmarco Ercoli has succeeded, and Vittorio Garelli faces an uphill battle from here. What's going to happen, though, in the Open Division? In the Open Division, it's just a straight-up ordinary qualifying format, although we do have the same division in terms of groups. Be two groups heading out on the circuit, but there is no Super Pole thereafter. And the point I was starting to make previously, Melvin de Groot, our championship leader coming into this. It's been a very dramatic season so far in the Euro NASCAR Open Division. To be honest, I don't think anyone has had a completely clean run in the season so far. No one has been in the top 5 in all of the races so far. I think the drop scores at the end of this weekend are going to do some wild things to the standings in the Open Division. But Melvin de Groot, as it stands, is your championship leader. He got his first ever overall victory in Euro NASCAR last time out in Brands Hatch. A great performance from him. Martin Dubeck is only 7 points off, tied for second next to Patrick Schauber. Thomas Dombrowski and Thomas Chrysonis make up the remainder of the top 5 in this championship. Only 16 points covering the top 5. And Chrysonis has had some misfortunes, but he's also had a couple of victories. He's been strong when things haven't turned against him, and I think he's one of the drivers that will really profit from the drop score after this weekend, so long as Most goes well for him. Tavat Kalatza, Mulders, Florian Richard, Dominic Schack, and Roberto Benedetti, your top 10 in the championship. And reading that list, again, we know that Thomas Dombrowski's number 24 car was just faltering with Vittorio Garelli, so there's a question mark there in terms of where he might qualify. And then I also look at for Bruno Mulders. Obviously, he seemingly had a suspension issue. Let's hope that that car makes it out. The number 72 Team Blake-Molen car, let's hope we see it over the course of this qualifying session. I think both parties are in the second group, if I'm not mistaken, so they've got a little bit of extra time, but let's keep an eye on that developing story. We are then out onto the circuit for this first group of qualifying in the Open Division. Sven Van Laar, Dominic Schack, Jordan O'Brien, Florian Richard, Blake-Molen, Beers and Pantani all out on the circuit for now. A few drivers not yet venturing out there, and we haven't got too much time, so they want to get a bit of a hurry up on, I would suggest. Sven Van Laar, of course, in the number 64 car, who leads them out. In fact, no, sorry, the first one out there on circuit is Florian Richard, so he's was the most eager to get out onto the circuit in his Speedhouse number 33 machine. And Florian, of course, in his second full season with us in the NASCAR Euro Series, and had a very impressive debut season, is still very much in the hunt for the championship at this stage. He's actually yet to finish in the top 5, though, this season, rather compellingly. And I think we might see that change this weekend if he can get himself a good qualifying performance. The number 89 car heading out onto the circuit. That's going to be in the hands of Davide Frulio for this session. That's the car that's usually, well, not the same chassis, but it is usually the number 88 car. And of course, Frulio is driving along with Massimilio Lanza. It is the 89 this time around. The number 33 car running through the S-bends at the moment at the conclusion of the lap. Again, based on the form that we've seen so far, we're not expecting this to necessarily be the fastest time we'll see from Florian Richard, but it does look like he's pushing on fairly well. We can take some heed from the times we saw earlier on. It does appear that we are maybe half a step behind the very fastest lap times we've ever seen in Euro NASCAR history here at Most, so I'm expecting pole position to probably be somewhere in the 141s, maybe the middle 141s, based on what we saw in the Pro Division. Here comes the 33 across the line. It's only a 148 to get started, but he's still got 6.5 minutes, in fact 6 minutes almost exactly in actuality, to try and improve upon that. Our clock on the timing screen, or on your screen, is about 20 seconds behind by the looks of it. So Sven Van Laar is out there, Dominic Schack is out there, Jordan O'Brien is out there, as is Mikael Blake-Molen, Andres Beers, and Pantani, Teufel, Frudio and Wise. Here comes Sven van Leer across the line for a 1:53.685, and he will hope to improve upon that. Jordan O'Brien pretty quick out of the gate, a 1:44.246 for him. That is a solid little lap time from the American driver. We can't pretend to be too surprised if once again we see Jordan O'Brien towards the front of the open division. Of course, the race 2 grids here in the NASCAR Euro Series are set by the fastest laps in race number 1, and in the wet conditions on the Saturday at Brands Hatch, Jordan O'Brien was incredibly quick and actually led some laps therefore on Sunday with pole position in the Euro NASCAR Open Division. That was really impressive to see, and I think Jordan has immediately kind of set out his table and declared himself as one to watch going forward in Euro NASCAR Open.
Yeah, and I'm back now from the interviews, and Adam's here, and then I have some time to take a look at the grandstands and also what's going on here in the paddock. I have to say, I see already a big crowd following our qualifying right here. You said it earlier, it's an amazing event, also with the amazing guys of the European Truck Racing Championship. Here at Autodrom Most, just pure racing all around. We have also classic cars here on track, so it's a great event. The weather is perfect, and I saw a lot of people already coming to the track really early, so we have already a big stage here in qualifying, and Jordan O'Brien is at the moment leading in the Open Championship ahead of Florian Richard, Team Blekemolen's Michael Blekemolen, and O'Brien even was able to improve his lap time at 1:42.424, still leading this division. I'm going to be very interested in how the second group is going to perform in 3 minutes and 45 seconds, Adam. At the moment, we have to also, chase a little bit PK Carsport, what happened to the 24 car, and I got some information about Happy Nessa. She's now on the track in the 77, but the engine seems not to run really smoothly. So we have to take a look if Happy Nessa is able to clock a decent lap, or if the technical issues hamper her efforts here in qualifying.
We saw there the number 21 car, of course, the Lux Motorsport machine in its distinctive livery, and there's a new driver there, isn't there? We've got a driver that's had a switch anyway. Mike Wise listed in that number 21 now, the skateboarder and the wake skater, as his custom board known as the Panther in the wake skate world, and well, I don't think he's quite got a custom livery, but he's now got a very distinctive car to drive in the form of that number 21 Lux Motorsport machine. We'll keep an eye on his progress. Meanwhile, the number 76 of Michael Blekemolen being pushed on a little bit here. Certainly body language, it looked very fast through the exit of the S-Bends. Let's see what Michael can do. Of course, he is now in that number 76 car, which again is an acknowledgement to his age, his tenure in the world generally and in motorsport. But great to see him back and running very well indeed. There's that number 34 car of Thomas Teufel, and I think again a big indicator of just how uncharacteristic this season has been for Thomas Teufel is the fact that he's in this first group. We know how quick Teufel can be. We've seen him fight for and secure victories in Euro NASCAR Open. But we continue to watch on at the moment with O'Brien in that number 22 car. Number 34 car that we're watching of Thomas Teufel for the time being. Fresh coat of paint on this chassis, and let's see what Teufel can do. His current fastest time, 1:43.622. That puts him 1.2 seconds away from Jordan O'Brien's benchmark of a 42.4. Less than a minute left on this group, but of course this will carry over these lap times into the rest of the session. The second group, which will follow. So then, the number 34 car continues onwards, and second fastest, a 1:43.4. That's still a second off O'Brien. O'Brien has really laid down a gauntlet for the rest of this first group, and it's frustrating for Jordan because, of course, he's kind of flying blind a little bit. He doesn't know what's going to come in the following session in the second group. But he is going to, I think, be well within the top 10 with that kind of pace. And Claudio Remeggio Capelli, he's pushing on now as well. Let's keep an eye on the number 5 car as he comes through the last couple of turns.
Yeah, Jordan O'Brien, definitely the fastest driver in this group. The clock strikes 0, so we're going to see the checkered flag right now. The last lap time of Claudio Remigio Capelli with his famous boot. Had a really hard accident yesterday in free practice, but Academy Alex Caffi Motorsport was able to repair the car, and he jumps into second place with a 1:42.800 ahead of Dominic Schaak right now. But Adam, there are more cars to come. The 33 car, Florian Richard, the next one to cross the line. Let's take a look at the lap time of the Frenchman.
Comes across the line, and it looks like it's not going to be an improvement, does it?
No.
Hasn't set the times alight to 46.610 ultimately for him. Capelli, as we said, he's improved to second place. I think O'Brien is on another lap as well. Here comes the American racer. He's fighting against invisible foes here. The second group is going to determine where he starts on the grid, but let's see what his lap time is. It's a 42.5, so it's not an improvement on his best, a 1:42.424, but that was a really solid lap time from Jordan O'Brien. That's the benchmark for everybody else again, I suspect, especially given we saw the likes of Dubek and Chrysonis out there previously, that our target will be somewhere in the 141s, mid to low 141s. But for Jordan O'Brien, I think that lap time of 42.4 will put him certainly well within the top 10, and that's a really good benchmark for him to have going into the rest of the weekend here in the Open Division in the NASCAR Euro Series here at the Czech Republic and its circuit here at Most. So then, first group in the books. The second qualifying group will follow. This will be our 10 fastest drivers. These will be the drivers we expect to be well up there on paper, but let's see what goes down. Let's see what this next segment of qualifying brings, Andre. It will be the segment of qualifying, of course, that determines who joins you down there for the next session. Again, not the pole winner, Jordan O'Brien, because we still have the second segment
provisional
of qualifying to go. But yeah, provisional in the sense that we've still got half of qualifying to go. But this is how it stacks up after the first session, as we saw there. O'Brien, Capelli, Toffel, Schaak, Bleekemolen, Florian Richard, Trulio, Van Laar, Pantani, and then Mike Wise to round us up for now. Andres Beers didn't actually get a competitive lap in, and unfortunately nor did Happy Nessa. So I think a couple of drivers with some slight hiccups out there on the circuit with cars that maybe aren't quite complying right now, but their teams will be working hard to rectify that going into the Open Division race. And of course, for those who are running in the Open Division, they have a long wait, but the teams don't. In the case of both Beers and Happy Nessa, those cars need to be out there later on in the Pro race. And a big question is going to revolve around the car in the back of shot, the number 24. Thomas Dombrowski is getting ready to go out there on the circuit in this second qualifying group. And after what he saw in the Pro Division qualifying and then the Superpole session thereafter, he's going to be very, very much wondering, is the car underneath me? Am I going to have a fully loaded weapon to try and play with here?
Yeah, definitely. I'm already to spot the 24 car of PK Car Sport. They have a pit box more to the right there, but I wasn't able to see the car. By the way, Thomas Toffel on his last lap, he squeezed himself in between Capelli and Shark with a really good lap time on his last attempt. So they're going to get the cars out of the way. Sven van Laar in the 64 car of Speedhouse. We see in the back the 21 of Mike Weiss, the Pink Machine, and a lot of cars already lining up to go into 10 minutes qualifying Group 2 in the open division. And as in Pro, we don't see Super Bowl, but as in Pro, the big names are coming right now. The championship contenders, Martin Dubeck, the championship leader, Melvin de Groot from the Netherlands, Thomas Krasson is one of the race winners, Dombrovski, who was really good at Brands Hatch after this big incident he had there in free practice where he rolled the car 3 times. Bruno Mulders made it to the track in the 72 car. Jill Insta back from illness. He missed the races in Brands Hatch. He wasn't at 100% at Vallelunga. He isn't at 100% here, but yesterday he topped free practice 1 in the rain. Gambarotto was also really fast yesterday, the rookie in the Lumitec Ford Mustang in the number 11 car. Patrick Schober, one of the championship contenders and also one of the young guns with Valerio Mazzi in the 55 car. This is a really interesting group, and I bet that we're going to see the pole sitter from here.
Absolutely right. Yes, I would expect that pole position will come from this session. I would expect that Jordan O'Brien will be in the top 10 with his 42.4, but we will almost certainly see 41s out of this session. We saw it from Dubeck, from Chrysonis in the previous qualifying, the Pro Division qualifying, and of course those two double dipping, so we'd expect them to be strong here as well. There is Martin Dubeck. He would love a home pole position, of course. That would be a great way to kick off the competitive element of this weekend in that number 7 car. He'll be waiting with bated breath to see what his first couple of lap times look like and see how much work he has to do. He's going to be expecting to be strong. He was on the 2nd row in the Pro Division qualifying that we had just moments ago, so I think it's more than realistic to expect him to be on the front row here at Autodrom Most. There is Thomas Dombrovski coming to start his first flying lap. Good to see that the car staying underneath him for now. And as you said, Bruno Mulders is out there on the circuit, so that's really good news as well, because after what we understand was a suspension failure earlier on at the penultimate corner, there was maybe a little bit of concern that we wouldn't see Mulders out here, and he has a championship to try and fight for in his rookie season here in the Open Division. And of course, beyond the overall title, there is of course also the Master Trophy, where he's currently 3rd in those standings as well. So he's got 2 championships on his mind, I am quite sure.
Martin Dubeck, he has also a championship to fight for, to defend the title in the Open Division. Well, we have here a look into the pit boxes. On the left side, we saw Maxime van Laar, the son of Sven van Laar, who's competing in the Rookie Challenge in the NASCAR Euro Series. It's a regularity-based time attack challenge that we have on Friday with 3 30-minute sessions, so a total of 90 minutes track time in the morning. And the 2-timed session, they award points towards the overall standings in the Rookie Challenge. It's the best way to start a Euro NASCAR career, and we saw Sven van Laar's son Maxime van Laar making his first steps there. This is the pit box of PK Carsport, the Belgian powerhouse around Anthony Kumpen. But now we're going to see the first competitive lap times, of course, of the local hero, the defending champion Martin Dubeck. He wants to be on top of the standings here for sure. And let's see what his first lap looks like. He's 4th with a 1:43. Now 5th because Krassonis was faster. De Groot in 7th place.
Yeah, let's keep an eye on that situation as this qualifying continues to unfold. The lap times are only going to keep getting lower from here. No one into the 41s yet, so Jordan O'Brien still has his hold over pole position for now. But let's see where we go from this point on. Chrysonis with a 42.934 then. That's a decent lap time, but again, I think 41s has to be the benchmark for a pole position time. And again, I look at the clock and I feel the tension on behalf of the drivers. 5 minutes and 20-ish left to go in this session. We've barely started, and yet we're heading into the second half of this already. The window of opportunity to actually get a good lap in is so minimal, and little mistakes like that lock-up from Martin Dubek will have an effect. I don't think it will have damaged his lap time particularly. Let's hope it hasn't damaged the surface of his Hugea tyre. Of course, if the tyres are excessively damaged, they can take a tyre of equal or worse wear from practice and stick that on the car for the races. But the last thing you want to do is leave qualifying with damaged tyres. Dubek needs to be careful not to continue locking that up and creating a really significant flat spot on his tyre. Dubek coming across the line now. What kind of lap time does he put in? It is a mid 141, a 141.644. That's right on target for Martin Dubek in at the number 7 car. Melvin de Groot in the 69 directly behind him, who we see on screen at the moment, a 41.7, a great lap from him. Bruno Mulders, a 41.931, showing some of the potential pace that we maybe missed out on at the end of that pro qualifying earlier on. And Chrysonis also into the 41s on a 41.974. There is the number 13 car. The drivers are now about where we expect them to be in terms of lap time. Can anyone improve, though, on Dubek's 41.6?
Dubek just 0.118 seconds faster than Melvin de Groot, the championship leader, but also the leader in the Legend Trophy for drivers aged 40 and older. Mulders with this car that had to be repaired before this qualifying session in 3rd place. Then Chrysonis and then Linster. And I told you, Linster are not at 100%. The illness really put away a little bit of his physical shape. He needs to get back in shape there and also get back into the tunnel, into this racing rhythm. Yesterday showed that he has the potential to be here on top in the open division. Now 5th place ahead of Jordan O'Brien. He really set a decent lap time in the first group. Patrick Schober, one of the title contenders in the RDV competition, machine number 3 car, in 7th place right now. Capelli in 8th from the first group. Toffel in 9th from the first group, and then we have Marzi. And we see that Andres Beers is now in this session on track. Maybe there was a miscommunication, a misunderstanding. Dubek in 1st, Casson is now in 2nd. So the Greek driver improved, as well as Mulders now in 2nd place. 0.8 seconds behind Dubek. Casson is in 3rd, then de Groot, then Linster. So we saw 2 improvements, Adam, by Mulders and Cassonis in this lap.
Yeah, Dubek faster as well with a 41.3. So he's set a new benchmark for everybody else in this session as well. Some great lap times being fired in here in qualifying. The qualifying record here from Patrick Schober last year, a 140.669. So we're about half a second off that at the moment, but Dubek doesn't care so long as he is at the front and at the top of the standings at the end of this. We've got 2 minutes left to go, so everyone who's circulating now will effectively have this lap plus one more by the looks of it. Let's keep an eye on this situation as it develops. Martin Dubek with a 141.395. He is the benchmark. Can the likes of Bruno Mulders do something about it? He's well into the 141.5s now with a 141.533. Bruno Mulders in the 72 Team Blake-Molen car. He'll be running a little bit frustrated after pro qualifying didn't quite go as he would have envisioned with that suspension issue. And let's see if he can get himself a front row start. I think that would make for an electric race in the open division if that young talent was up there and fighting for a victory. But Thomas Chrysonis improves a 141.471, puts him within a tenth of Martin Dubek, puts him 2nd as we're into the final minute of the session.
And look at that, Valentino Gambarotto in the 11th car. He was 5th now he was beaten by the Roth and Schober, but Gambarotto really improves, one of the rookies here in the field. Had some bad luck early in the season, some crashes in the 11 car, but on sole pace, he's getting faster and faster, Gambarotto. Now he needs to nail it also in the races and, yeah, get the car home without any damage. I think that's the main goal, but Gambarotto is getting faster and faster. Dombrovski in the 24 car, at least in 8th place. That's not that bad. We still have what happened to Vittorio Ghirelli in his qualifying session, but it seems like that the PK Car Sport guys again made a great job. Remember when they repaired the chassis and the whole car after this massive accident of Thomas Dombrovski in Brands Hatch. Within 11 hours, the car was ready to go and even competitive to fight for race wins. Dubek still in front, Krasonis in second, Mulders in third, Lindster in fourth, and De Groot, the championship leader, in fifth, ahead of Schober, Gambarotto, Dombrovski, O'Brien in ninth, and then we have Sandro Tabat Kiladze, the Georgian driver, fighting for a spot in the top 10. I will go down now to the interview, by the way, Adam.
Okay, no problem. Will it be Martin Dubek that joins you? We'll find out in the next few moments. We saw there Gambarotto locking up going into the penultimate corner, missed his apex somewhat. As a result of that, you can see several drivers already withdrawing to the pit lane, feeling like they have done enough. Gambarotto does not improve. A 42.595 is his final offering, which does not improve his time. What about Patrick Schober? A 141.880. It looked like a fairly gentle run through the last couple of corners, and it was indeed only a 153.2 that lap, so it was really a fairly immaterial lap there from Patrick Schober. He will remain 6th fastest. It seems as though mostly everyone has decided that they've done enough already and is withdrawing to the pit lane. So this is the conclusion of the session. It seems Martin Dubek, a 141.395 then, proves to be enough to get himself pole position. That's a really solid performance from Dubek. Pole position in his homeland once again for the second I think it's the second time this season. I'll have to check that out in a minute. But Martin Dubek to the top, just within a 10th. Thomas Krasonis, who'll be starting from second. Bruno Mulders, third on the grid. Jill Lindster in fourth on his proper return. Good to see him out there. Melvin de Groot, Patrick Schober, Valentino Gambarotto, Thomas Dombrovski, Jordan O'Brien, and Sandro Tabat Kiladze making up our top 10 on the grid in the open division. And that will be a most welcome result, certainly, for Martin Dubek to be on pole in his homeland. And in fact, it's his first pole of the season. So it is the first time that the defending champ gets to receive a Strom Watches pole award, which he will do in the next few moments, along with Andre, who's maybe doesn't get the most steps of anybody in the Euro NASCAR media team. I suspect that our photographers do a little bit more footwork, but certainly he runs back and forth across the paddock a lot for the various presentations and efforts that he puts in for our stream. So Martin Dubek, second in the championship right now, his first pole of the season. The championship leader, Melvin de Groot, will be starting from 5th on the grid, but Melvin always strikes me as someone who's got more race pace than quali pace anyway, so I think he'll be fighting for the podium from that P5 starting position for sure. And I think it will be a compelling one to watch. Meanwhile, the marshals getting everything ready. I think that little soft bollard is not going to last long. I'm pretty sure that's being put there for the trucks. Don't expect that to last terribly long. But that first chicane, we're looking at turn 2 at the moment, and that first chicane will be the big pinch point, let's say, for our grids in the NASCAR Euro Series. For the rest of this weekend, of course, 2x2 rolling starts to begin our races here in the NASCAR Euro Series, and I really think that as always, we're going to see some measure of bedlam on the run down to turn 1 and through turn 1 and 2. It's almost a double hairpin rather than chicane. Two very tight apexes to start the lap, and everyone will be fighting for their spot going into the first corner. I think in this open division race, it'll be very interesting to see what Mulders can do from third on the grid as well. He'll be looking to get to the inside of Chrysonis, who'll be on the outside of the front row. And then, of course, you've got the likes of Linster on his return. He'll be eager for a podium as he makes his steps back into the NASCAR Euro Series Open Division. Melvin Groot, Patrick Schauber, all certainly contenders for podiums, if not victories as well. And a word to Jordan O'Brien as well. 9th fastest ultimately by the time the session came to its conclusion. Of course, he was the fastest among the first session drivers, and I suspect there's going to be more to come from him in the race as well. Based on his Brands Hatch performance, he'd probably like some of that Friday weather to re-emerge and some rain to fall on the Autodrom Most circuit, but I don't think that's going to be the case this weekend. I believe the conditions are going to stay correct for people of a certain taste when it comes to their weather. I don't think it's going to be raining any further. Of course, we've got 2 more streams to bring you today after we've heard from our Open Division pole sitter Martin Dubek, and that will be right now, actually, that we hear from Martin.
So much, Adam. Home race and the Strom Watches Pole Award for Martin Dubek. What a phenomenal lap. But with all these group qualifyings and the, not that much track time, it was a tough one, right?
No, it was nice. It's a pity that I didn't do the fastest lap, faster lap in Pro. I'm on P3 in Pro, but Jimmy was really fast. So it's a pity. There is, I think, 5 tenths, but I think that I can find it during the race, but I will have pole position for the race in open, so I am happy. So that means that we will stop in the first row. It's a pity that the visitors cannot come there, that we don't have the grid walk before the open race, but I think that all visitors will enjoy it for sure if I will start from pole position, and I will do my best for the podium.
How did they welcome you when you arrived in the box right now?
Yeah, that was a nice feeling. There is almost 500 people already now on Saturday morning, so that's nice. I think that will be a little bit more on Sunday, but nice feeling.
All right, thank you so much. Congratulations, Martin Dubek. Back to you, Adam, and we see each other then in the race. But of course, I need to show the Strom watch here as well.
Yeah, Martin Dubek puts his hand out. He wants that. That's great. Huge home support then for Martin Dubek. The enthusiastic Czech crowd has a very exciting day of racing to come, as do we here on the live streams. And at 13:40 local time, Central European Summer Time, we will be back with more from the Pro Division. So 13:40 is our next stream, and for the Open Division race, it will be 17:25 for their 7th round of the season. The pictures are taken, the smiles are wide. It's quite a narrow run though, down to the first corner. Make sure you watch as we launch into the racing element of our weekend. Up next in the Euro NASCAR Pro Division. Join us, as you can see on the graphic, at 13:40 local time for the first of 4 races here at Autodrom Most.